Hello. So I actually remembered to bring my laptop with me. So just in case I'm not able to see commentary on my phone, I figure I can be ready with my laptop. So bear with me. I've just finished snuggling with my cat Toulouse for the past half hour. So it's like I feel like I've got fur like all over me. He's my big fat furry cat. And yes, very cool. Okay, let's see here. Now, I'm just gonna silence my laptop. And cool, and I see my husband's on here. Hi, Tim. And I see your comment over here too. So I'm in business. Other than try not to, like, inhale in Toulouse's hair. I feel like, again, like I'm covered with it. So tonight I'm doing pretty good. Oh, I see Seraphine's on here. Hi, Seraphine. Welcome. So today was a good day. I spent it with my husband. We went out to lunch together, which is good because when I work 12 hours, I don't really feel like I see him as much as I'd like to, and I'd worked the previous 2 days, so it was good to be able to see him. I'm off for the next 2, and then I'll be working the weekend, so... And he and I have our eye appointments tomorrow, so, we'll see how our vision's doing. And then with the kids are good. They're both happy and doing well, and I made chicken thighs with potatoes, like the little golden potatoes, with a salad for supper. That's always one of our family favorites and go-tos, and it's not hard to make. So we did that. I've done a lot of reading, and I sat out on my back porch for a bit. So today, I would say was a good day, so I'm hoping that you had a good day too. And if you see me looking over, again, I'm looking over at that laptop to make sure that I keep seeing any type of comments. So the good news is we're almost to the very end of our Pentacles journey because, like we've been going over with all the suits, it starts with Ace, okay, which is synonymous with 1 and ends with 10. And so once we wrap this up, we'll end up looking at our court cards for Pentacles. And then I think I'm going to kind of delve into like some things with spreads and kind of build on our knowledge base with that in our group. So I'm really excited to look into that. And if you're new to the group or whatnot, and you have an interest in learning tarot, again, it's never like a contest or anything you feel like you got to rush through. All of the tarot teaching moments can be found on YouTube under Mountain Crow Tarot. If you just check out my channel, what I do is I download all of my go lives off Facebook and I upload them to YouTube so that people can, at their leisure, I have it based on the suit or so forth, the court cards. You can easily find the card that you're needing further clarity and guidance on. And it's really cool. I think it's really cool that as a group, we have just about covered all 78 cards of the tarot. And when I think about the work we've done learning about the cards, like you guys know, I love tarot, obviously, like many of you guys do. I feel like in a way this has been like my love letter to tarot. It's honestly this work that I've been doing with these tarot teaching moments and these go lives. It's like a love letter said aloud to something that I hold near and dear. So it's really been interesting to learn with you guys so far and advance on my own knowledge of tarot. And then we're growing together intuitively. So, I think that's great. Like, I'm really proud of our group and how we've continued to learn and have fun. That's the thing, too. Like, we enjoy each other's company on here. So that's been really good. So I'll be maybe a little less mushy. And I'll get right into tonight's card. And I will be checking out my comments. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave those for me. So we're about to delve into the 9 of Pentacles. And I will hold her up. And as always, take in what the central character is doing. If they're looking directly at us or not. the predominant color usage because everything has a meaning in tarot. That's why I've always leaned toward cards with like a picture, is scenery, because there's so much to be obtained and derived from the symbolism and color use. What's going on around her and in the background. And does this card make you feel comfortable or not comfortable? What is the overall energy of the card? Because like we always say, sex does not matter with tarot cards. We're always talking about the overall energy. And I just saw Rachel, I think she just popped on. I'm not sure. You can never tell with these. Or no, wait. Oh, no, it's Rebecca popping on. Hi, Rebecca. Welcome. So we'll go ahead and delve right in here. And I can see commentary too. Hi, Rebecca. So what we have here is the Roman numeral for 9. And what we see is a really very beautiful lady, okay, with her flowing yellow robe. And those flowers, I researched it, those are supposed to be sunflowers, okay? And she has this little hawk that she is holding there. It is perched upon her left hand, because remember when I do these, that you guys get a mirror image of what I actually see. Okay, so this is actually her left hand, and remember, with our intent, it's like our thought processes, it begins with the left hand, and say most people are right-handed, we manifest with our right. So if you've noticed here, so here is her hawk, and it's hooded, okay, which means that it's very synonymous for self-control, discipline, mastery. So she has utilized these traits to manifest with her right hand, which is resting on a pentacle, and then which is synonymous with all of the wealth around her, which takes the form of this very green vegetation, grapes, which we generally think of wine. In the background, there is a castle. Okay, there's a tree. Well, no, 2 trees right there. And we have this predominant yellow theme. This is definitely a nod toward the Sun card, which is from the Major Arcana. So you see how we have sunflowers? Well, that's actually what she has on her robe here. And we've got the predominant yellow color that's used with this card. Very simply put, it's a very bright outlook, a very accomplished place to be with this energy. Well, it ties right into her. This is somebody where their hard work is paid off, and it's also known as the Lush card. They are enjoying the wealth that they have obtained from hard work and dedication, and it could be a cue for leisure time. Rebecca says, I've always thought there's so much in this card. I know, right? Like there's so much symbolism with this card. It's really, really cool. So looking at her, this is somebody of status. So with her red hat, okay, when we've covered red in the past, it stands for victory, prominence, status. Okay, in combination with this yellow, which when we talk about yellow, we're talking like the Sun card vibes. We have illumination, clarity, warmth, knowing where we're going on our journey, right? So when I was reading from Rachel Pollack's book today, which I'll hold it up for you guys, it's Tarot Wisdom, Spiritual Teachings, and Deeper Meanings. We recently lost Rachel. So the tarot world as a whole has kind of taken a loss with that. But at least we've been left with her knowledge. Like she probably, honestly, from everything I've read so far with tarot, has been the most intelligent lady. Like she knew tarot like nobody else may ever do it again. I don't know if we'll ever have another Rachel, but at least we have her books to derive knowledge from. So I'm going to read to you guys about what she wrote about this card, and even hold up the book so you can see some of the comparison cards, because I really liked what she wrote here. So let me hold this guy back up here. So the writer version of this card has always been one of my favorites. So much so that I based my own Nine of Stones closely on it. So basically Rachel ended up having her own deck that she made, and she didn't deviate very much at all from the Rider-Waite-Smith. Since the Shining Tribe suit is stones, not pentacles, I took the opportunity to show stars brought down from heaven to shine within the rocks. In other words, dreams made a reality through the woman's dedication, work, and discipline. And I'm going to hold my book up so you guys can see the card she's referencing. So you see how she did her drawing of the woman in the card? And actually it's a falcon, not a hawk. I called it the wrong species. But see, all these things around her are rocks, and they're lit up from within. I really love how she did that, right? That's really cool. And then I'll hold up a Rider-Waite-Smith here. And I like how she put it here. Dreams are made a reality through the woman's dedication, work, and discipline. This seems to me the implied sense of the Rider version, that this is a garden of her own making. I love that. It also fulfills the idea of 9 as something born from the quality of the suit. In the element of earth, that something could be a literal baby, though I have not seen any decks that show this. More widely, the something becomes a good life, one that we have made ourselves and that we appreciate. This goes beyond the limited idea of material gain found in the Golden Dawn, which is when she'll reference different, tarot decks within her narrative. But then I think of the suit of earth as much more than material gains and losses, and I agree with that. The falcon on her wrist is hooded under her control, which I'll hold this so you can see that. I see this as discipline, self-control, and training that allow us to develop our full potential. In the first deck I had, there seemed to be a shadow on the left side of her face, which would be the right side of the picture. That would mean she has turned away from the sun, which is to say spontaneity, maybe even relationships. Now that's a bit of the shadow side to this card, even though it's got this really bright, awesome tone to it. I think we can all agree with that. She's alone, which is a difference because we'll cover the 10 of Pentacles tomorrow night. She is very accomplished and well-to-do, but other than the falcon that is perched on her hand, she is alone here, And generally, as you obtain things in life, you want people to share that with because, people need people, right? So that's why I say this isn't like the 10 of Pentacles. It's because there's still an element missing. So Rachel Pollack says, that would mean she has turned away from the sun, which is to say spontaneity, maybe even relationships. Notice how this combines aspects of both major arcana cards, the Hermit and the Sun. And I went ahead and I pulled our Hermit out too. I do get some Hermit vibes. What we have with this card is an independent energy, okay? And they're comfortable being alone. So I know it's a little bit of a different feel between our Hermit and the 9 of Pentacles, but they're both comfortable with being alone. So the person in this card does not feel like they need somebody to fulfill them or to provide for them. They are very self-sufficient and can do so on their own, So Rachel says, she does not regret the life she has made, but she knows what she has sacrificed. Even though the official edition does not show the shadow, I still find that meaning valuable and implied in the fact that she is alone. The Pythagorean Ennead, that's a mouthful, refers to the end of a process, but also to the idea of a spiritual mothering. I would describe this card more as a culmination than a conclusion, and the ability to mother yourself, to give birth to a good life for yourself, which is really an empowering card when you think about it. And then I will hold up the other page of this book here. So see, in this book, she'll go through like the different images that she references within her narrative, and the artistic liberties they pretty well chose in reflecting what that card means. And that's why I feel like it's so easy to collect different tarot decks, because of just, I feel like it's like layers of depth that keep getting added on and added on based on the interpretation of the artist, if that makes sense. And it's just based on your mood, and we click with our decks differently. So there's just like, out of the many that I do have that I've collected over the years, I have a certain few that I really feel connected to. And I don't know if you guys feel similar to me, but I really do feel that. And there's also certain decks I love to read for others more so with, especially if I see that most people gravitate towards certain decks, that they're more popular. I kind of make note of that. So just because, say, I love something a whole lot doesn't mean that somebody else will. And so it's just kind of being aware, if you choose to read for others, kind of like what people are drawn to. That way they resonate with it more. So let's see here. I want to go over the meanings that I wrote down for this card to make sure I'm being thorough. So I'm going to hold it back up as I read these. So we went over how it is called the Lush card. So some descriptors would be comfort, accomplishment, prosperity, making time for leisure. This is the time just to simply enjoy. It is not the time to work more. It's to take time to appreciate what you have and just be happy, right? And rest. We have independence, self-sufficient, feelings of security and freedom that material wealth can bring. So even though money is not everything in life, it can provide security and, you know, provide us with material things that help keep ourselves and our families comfortable. Even though it's not the be-all, end-all, it is important, right? So with love, for example, we're looking at somebody, if they're single, this is an energy, whether it be a male or a female, they don't really need to be in a relationship. They are very happy with their life in general and their independence and being single. They're very much well established on their own. If anything, they are seen as very attractive to others because it is attractive. It's sexy, right? When somebody's intelligent, accomplished, and driven, and they're pretty well established in life, that's an attractive attribute. You know, it can also, in a relationship, show that two people are very respectful of boundaries. So each one of them are independent and accomplished in their own ways, to where we have that balance. We don't have one that's depending on another one to reach this level of accomplishment. Both are accomplished in their own way. With career, this just shows, you know, somebody who's done well. They've put in the hard work, the consistent effort, and it's paying off financially. They're probably moving up in status and work and just really thriving. And then with finances, obviously we're talking like prosperity with this card. Something I read today also alluded, it could mean somebody purchasing land. And I could kind of see where they would get that, because we have so much scenery in this picture that's so expansive. So like her home that's in the background is way back there. So it would insinuate that all that land belongs to her. And that, when you think about it, it's quite a lot for just one person, right? But another way of interpreting it is, say if her house is somewhere else on this property, and say if that's community that's far in the background, that kind of would allude to the shadow side to this card of her not having others to share this abundance with, which generally speaking, we all want to be able to share with somebody our happiness and have that companionship, right? So let's see here. We went over some of the symbolism here. Let's see here. So now I think we're ready to go into the reversals. So, like you guys know, it's generally the opposite of the upright meaning. And like I always say, if reversals do not resound with you, don't sweat it. Then just don't read them. But for those who do, this is some good info. So we're talking about the extreme meaning of the upright version or the opposite. So an extreme meaning of the upright, we're talking about vanity and ego. Those are turnoffs, right? That is not attractive. So somebody in the upright position, even though they're accomplished and successful, they do not come off in any such way like that, okay? They're very humble and like, yeah, they'll talk about, okay, I work at such and such position. You know, I've worked for many years. I've paid off my own home. I paid off my car. They'll talk to you about the work they put into it, but they're not going to try to act like they're all that. What is it? A bag of chips and a soda. That's not how they're going to come off. Again, when it's upright, this is attractive, right? This is an energy that attracts people. If it's in reverse, this is somebody very much full of themselves, egotistical and vain. This could also be very symbolic of an energy where people will spend so much money to keep up appearances. We've alluded to it before in our group talking about the cards, like keeping up with the Joneses. They will only wear certain brands. They'll only drive certain cars because they in our society are seen as status symbols. So even if they cannot afford it, that's the main thing. They cannot afford this lifestyle. They will sacrifice everything to maintain appearances. Well, that's the opposite of the upright energy. It can also reflect overspending money. So it's people who come into money, but they're not disciplined. So think back to our little falcon friend here that is perched there, which is actually her left hand, not her right. Well, that shows self-discipline and control, right? Over self. That includes spending habits. So when this is in reversed, our little falcon friend is no longer symbolic of that discipline and self-control. So there's still this money that's being spent without boundaries, and that can lead to any of our downfalls, right? So it can also show needing to take a vacation. So this card, if it's in reverse, can show somebody that's been putting in 60 hours a week. I'm just throwing a number out there. They're not taking any time to enjoy their hard work, and they will feel burnt out because there's not a balance. Work-life balance is a real thing, you know? So with love, with this being in reverse, this is somebody that they're very guarded. So upright, we have somebody that's very independent, a very independent, self-sufficient energy. When it's in reverse, they're not really even open to sharing their abundance with somebody else. Because with it upright, we're going to move into the 10, where we're going to see sharing abundance with others. And so with this, we've got an open posture too. She's not closed off, okay? But with it in reverse, they're not going to be ready to take that next step into the 10, you know, which is ultimately community building. With career, again, we don't have that work-life balance, or is somebody not putting in the hard work where they want all this stuff, all the material, financial type stuff, but they don't want to put the work into it. They tend to want to do the easy money. You got to beware of like shady business dealings, that promise quick money. That could be reflective of that energy with it being in reverse. And with finances, we mentioned overspending, but unfortunately another aspect would be being financially dependent on somebody else. which is not good, because when it's upright, we're talking about somebody independent and self-sufficient. When it's in reverse, then we have the opposite of that meaning. We don't have that self-sufficient independence. That's not good either for that person or the relationship. And Haley hopped on. Hi, Haley. So no worries about hopping on. You can play back the beginning, you know, after the go live. And I always post these on YouTube anyway. So I covered everything I wanted to cover that I wrote down from my research here. And like I've mentioned in other go lives, so I do lean on Rachel Pollack's books because she's really reputable and smart. I recommend anything by her. But I also, to get more in-depth info and viewpoints, I go online, I type in the card in Google. Biddy Tarot will come up first, and then Labyrinthos comes up. Sometimes they'll kind of switch their orders. You can click on either one of those and get a synopsis. So if you ever feel stuck on a card after reflecting on it intuitively, which I think you should do first and foremost, intuitively what you draw from the card and how that card makes you feel, then you look it up in the book that comes with the deck, and you can look at other sources. Or especially if there's a block and you feel stumped, you can totally look it up, you know. I'm just looking over to make sure I'm not missing any comments, because I can't see comments. So if you have any, feel free to leave them and I'll keep an eye out for them. So now we're going to delve into the comparison cards. And I always ask for you guys to look for the common symbolism and even color use that can transfer over. So with this one, we have a lady, and she appears to be very sharply dressed, right? And she's very happy, and she's got an open body posture. And look at these pentacles, like they're abounding. And then her little bird friend is perched there. And again, it carries over, showing just very much the discipline and self-control is what that bird signifies on this card. And look at all this green. And it's hanging like off the ends, right? Like it's among the green vegetation. It's showing just so much growth. It's these positive outcomes from hard work, right? And it's just abounding. But again, keep in mind, she's alone in this picture except for her little bird friend. There are no other people in this card with her, which is, again, one of the main differences between the 9 of Pentacles and the 10 of Pentacles. So with this one, I think of my mother when I see this card. My mom, she is something else. One of the things she told me in her older age now is she's like, I have no use for a man. She's like, I enjoy being on my own. She is always out gardening and planting. She's happy outside all day long. And so when I see this picture of this woman being outside, I do think of her. So here we see this lady, and she does appear older. I would not say this is maiden phase. When you look at maiden, mother, crone phase, I would say this is more like a crone phase. And this could also be somebody in their 20s who's really sacrificed a lot to gain what they get. They get that wisdom, which is associated, say, with their elder phase, crone phase of life, right? And so she's holding this little bird. It looks like a little sparrow to me, gently in her hands. And that little guy feels safe in order to stay there, right? And she's very open. So I feel like here's all this vegetation, all these flowers and growth around her, that she projects abundance and she attracts it back. So her hands are open. They're not closed. She's not tight to her core, but she projects abundance and welcomes it back when we're talking about the law of attraction. And we've got the little white picket fence that generally people think about. When they think about the picturesque home, they think of the fence. And then in the back, there's a lot of ominous dark shading there. So when I look at that, I think of all the trials and tribulations that this lady had to go through to get to where she currently is in the forefront with all this beauty. There were sacrifices that had to be made to get to that place, right? And she made them. I love how the hair is tousled. It's just kind of wild looking, and she's got some flowers in her hair. And she's not extravagantly dressed either. She's very simply dressed. And I love it. It shows the connection to the land. You know, I bet you anything, although we cannot see it in this card, I bet you she's barefoot and making contact with the ground, breathing that fresh air in, getting her hands dirty, and she's happy because we come from the earth, right? And we come from women, so we come from that feminine energy. So I really, really love this. And just like Rachel Pollack alluded to, it's like, yeah, it's like giving birth to something. This is like the outcome, right? The culmination of something, of efforts. So it's pretty cool. And then with this one, so I know that Rachel alluded to the Hermit card and the Sun card to go. It complements the energy of the Nine of Pentacles. With this one, though, I'm getting some Strength card vibes. So we have this wolf, and our crow friend is perched directly on top of its head. And we've got all these pentacles that are abounding, right? And we've got the sun energy. There's the sun, very bright, luminescent. We've got the butterfly, which is reflective of that painful change and transition. So that reminds me a bit of the Death card, how there has to be endings to things for there to be new beginnings, and we evolve and transform. Just like the little caterpillar who never knew it could fly, ate a bunch of leaves, went to a little chrysalis, and it slept. And then one day it opened its little eyes as it kind of broke open from the chrysalis. And then out of the blue, wow, it can fly. Like, try to fathom how it must be to be a little humble creature crawling on leaves and on the ground, and then out of the blue one day it can fly. And what kind of feeling that must be. Even though to get from point A to point B would be very uncomfortable and painful. And maybe even at times uncertain, wondering what in the world's going on during this transformative process, right? And then we have green. We've got that beautiful, lush, huge, big green tree back there. You know it's got some deep roots in the ground, you know? And we've got all these little blooms. They look like little cherry blossoms that are on this branch here. It looks like they're just about to open up. So much beauty, though, and so much peace and tranquility and coexisting here. But I see strength when I see this wolf, because our little crow friend is not afraid at all of this wolf. You know, so when I think of strength, I think of that single-minded determination and purpose that we see in that card. That helped this energy get to the Nine of Pentacles, is staying focused, right? And doing what they needed to do to reach this outcome. And then I always wrap things up with a card not based on Rider-Waite-Smith. And this is not the worst one, because you guys know I've been pulling it from the Hush Tarot. So with this one, we see a lady. I don't really like the eyes. To me, I don't know. It's almost like she's maybe possessed, or I'm not sure. They look too white to me, a little haunted looking. So she's holding this bird of sorts with her other hand on her hip. It's almost like she's probably watching, observing, and she's almost like a little bit of a bird herself. Maybe if we're thinking about it, maybe she sees things through the perspective of the bird and vice versa. You know, so I'm thinking about some of the fantasy literature I read. I see somebody wise and experienced and observant, but if I was new to reading tarot and this was my first deck and I got this card, I wouldn't have gotten all the symbolism that we generally had with the other cards that are based from the Rider-Waite-Smith. So that's why I say when people are learning, it should be a deck based on Rider-Waite-Smith. And my OGs, the people that have been in my group for a long time, you've heard that exhaustively, but I always add that in case somebody's new to watching these tarot teaching moments, or if they hop on and just watch, say this one, that they're aware to research these decks before they buy them, But see how we have symbolism that carries over, and artistic liberties, which add depth. It adds layers like an onion to the meaning of the card. I think that's one of the reasons I love buying tarot decks. To me, they're an investment. Like, I love them. Just like I love how we have different readers in our group and they interpret things differently and see things differently. Like, I love it. I think it's just so interesting. But I love that commonality of the symbolism that just, it crosses over. And the playful use of color and what all info we can obtain just from the use of color. So I think that wraps us up tonight for the Nine of Pentacles. And if you have any questions, which I'm not seeing any new ones, feel free to let me know. Or share them with the group, because we're here to help each other out. And then we will wrap up the Pentacles tomorrow night, guys. I'll shoot for 8 p.m. again. And we will do the 10 of Pentacles. And then we'll kind of go from there and we'll veer into the court cards. And then we'll keep building on our tarot knowledge base together. So, yeah. So thank you for your presence. It always makes my heart happy to have you guys here. You guys are like the best part of the group. It really is. I love you guys so much. And I hope you have a restful evening wherever you are. And take it easy, and I wish you well. And if you need me, I'm here. Good night.